Alright, everybody, today we are going to start with A Legend of the Northland. Okay, it is it's a poem. Okay, sorry, it's a poem in your Beehive, and we're going to cover that right now. So, A Legend of the Northland. Alright, it's a ballad. Now, what's a ballad? A ballad is kind of, you must have heard of those bhajans which go on in localities, right? If you go in the countryside, you would hear it, ballads a lot of times. You would hear that ballads are being sung. Okay, so basically it's a poem which is narrating a story in short stanzas. It's a poem which directly narrates a story, and what stanzas? In short stanzas. Ballad is such kind of a poem that tells the stories in short stanzas, and in the poem all the stanzas, they comprise of 4 lines. That's very important in a ballad, right? 4 lines are there for each stanza. And in this A Legend of the Northland, we're going to talk about 16 stanzas, which means 64 lines. Now, ballads are a part of the folk culture or popular culture and are passed on orally from one generation to the next. Passing on from generation to generation, ballads are a part of our folk culture. Okay? Folk culture, it comprises of our traditional stories which are passed on from one generation to the next. Now, this A Legend of the Northland, it is the story of the Northland area, okay, which is near the North Pole, and this exact place is not specified, but Northland means the area in the northernmost part of the earth. That's the North Pole. We're just getting to know about the title of that poem, okay, and legend means a historical story, one which is very old and it has been passed on from generations to generations. That's when we call it a legend. In Northland, because it is somewhere narrating the story near the northern part of the earth. That's the North Pole. Now, always I say I'll not come on to the summary because that's not what I'm meant to do. Okay. So, the poem stanza number 1. Away, away in the Northland. Okay, away, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. So in the region around North Pole, the duration of day is very less, right? The nights are very longer, the days are very few. Because of the position, right? Sun's ray, the heat is very less. Okay, in a very less time. So they, it refers to the people who live in that region. The poet says that the duration of the night time is so long that the people cannot sleep them through. If they go to bed, take a few hours of sleep, and then they wake up, it's still night time. He wants to emphasize the fact that the duration of the night is so very long. Okay, when the people wake up, they see that, oh, it's night right now also. So he wants to emphasize what? That the duration of night is very long. Now, that was Santa Claus. Now, when they harness the swift reindeer to the sledges where it snows, and the children look like bears' cubs in their funny furry clothes. Sledges, what are sledges? Sledges is a vehicle which carries the loads of the person over the ice, often pulled by draught animals. And harness, to harness means to tie the reindeers with a rope to a sledge so that they can be used for transportation. So it means very fast. So the Northland region, it experiences very severe cold conditions. It's a snowy area. Reindeer is an animal which is found in that polar region. Now people tie their reindeer to the sledges. Okay, they harness it. He asks that the children, they look like, they look like the young ones of the bear, where they wear very funny looking clothes which are made up of fur, okay, which is like the furry skin of a bear. So yeah, they look like the young ones of the bear. Okay, that's when the children are compared. Okay, like is used, so it's a simile. Now, yeah, they tell them a curious story. I don't believe this true. And yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. So in the line 1, we see they again at refers to, now that the first stanza, the they refers to the people who are living in that area. Here the they refers to the parents or the elder people, and them refers, okay, they I told you, now them refers to the younger generation. Alright, so here the elders of the Northland region, They tell a strange and interesting story to their younger generation. The poet says that he doesn't think the story is true, but if he tells the story to the reader, maybe the reader could learn a lesson from it, and since the story gives an important message. Okay, the tale we are going to read right now, it's telling about it. Now, once when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about it preaching just as he did, Saint Peter is an apostle of Christ, a disciple or follower of Jesus Christ. Preaching, Now, the story here is about Saint Peter. When Saint Peter used to live in the world and went around, he used to give religious lectures to the people, just like the saints used to do. Then an incident happened. Okay, just like a tale, you can see this ballad. It's just like a tale, or the poet is telling us, right? Okay. He came to the door of a cottage and traveling around the earth, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. Hearth is a fireplace. Now when Saint Peter, he was moving around the world, he was giving religious lectures to the people, reached the door of a cottage where a small woman, she used to bake cakes, she used to make cakes. She was baking those cakes in a fireplace. Then in a fireplace, which means on the hearth, she was doing that. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. Being faint with fasting means he was so weak that he was about to just, feel dizzy. Okay, he was doing fasting all through the day. The day was almost over. Okay, so as Saint Peter, he had not eaten anything the entire day. He was very hungry. He was feeling very weak. He came next to the door to the cottage where the woman was baking cake. She went to that woman. She asked her, "Please give me one cake. Out of the cakes you've baked, please give me that." Okay, he's asking it very politely. Now, so she made a very little cake, but as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. You can find out the nature of that person, no? You can find out the nature of that woman. The woman seemed so selfish, right? The woman was very selfish by the nature of the sentence. We could figure out that. She did not give cake from a store. Instead, she started making a little cake at the first place. Because she did not want that her stock should be less, right? She did not want to share her things. Like sharing is caring, as we all say. She did not believe in that. But when she put the cake on baking, she looked at it and thought like, oh, this is also too big to give to someone, right? So she wanted to make it so small. Okay. Therefore, she needed another. Now what she did, she needed another because that was too small to give, too big to give away. And still a smaller one, but it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. Now, the little miser woman, she thought that the cake was too big to be given away. She started to make another one, and when she looked at that cake, she again felt that, oh, that's as big as the previous one, no change. So again, she was not ready to give that cake to Saint Peter. Now, then she took a tiny scrape of dough and rolled it flat and baked it thin as a wafer. But she couldn't part with that. Part means to share, okay? Scrap means a small amount. Now, the third time, again, she took a small amount of dough and she rolled it as flat as a wafer. She baked it. But she was so greedy that she couldn't give that piece of bread to the saint. Now she was again like, oh, I couldn't give this to also. Okay. But she said, my cakes that seem too small, when I eat them myself and get too large to give away. So she put them on the shelf. Now woman reasoned that when she ate the cake, she felt that they were very small. But if she had to give it to someone, she felt that, oh, it's so big to give away. For her, it was very small. For others, it was very big. So she put all the cakes on the shelf of her kitchen. She did not give anything to Saint Peter. Then, good Saint Peter, he grew angry. You didn't give it to me? He grew very angry. He's so selfish, right? For he was hungry and faint. He was hungry and faint since the whole day he had been fasting. And surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint, right? Saint Peter, he became very angry. He was very angry, right? He was very hungry also. He was feeling very weak. And that selfish woman, she was not ready to give anything, even a small cake. This behavior, it made the saint feel very furious. And he said, you're far too selfish to dwell in a human form, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm. These are the basic necessities to dwell, right? To live. Saint Peter cursed the woman. She's a very selfish woman. You don't deserve to be like a human being. He added that God has given you shelter, food, fire. But you're selfish. You don't need to keep, you don't need all those resources to bestow upon you. She did not want anything, she did not believe in sharing is caring. She did not want to part anything with another once. Okay, now you shall build as the birds do and shall get your scanty food. Okay, by boring and boring and boring all the day, hard, dry well. Scanty means very little food. Okay, boring means making a hole by digging. So now St. Peter, he cursed the woman. That hence she would become a bird because she did not deserve to be in human form. She shall become a bird, and just like the birds, they build their homes by boring into the wood, collecting the little food, by working hard the entire day. Similarly, she would also work hard in the dry wood all day and then get the little food and make a small place for herself to live in. She has to make her everything now. Okay, then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. Now, as soon as St. Peter cursed that woman, she did not get a chance to speak for herself, right? Because it was a curse at an instantaneous curse, right? She flew up to the roof, to the chimney, in the form of a bird. And St. Peter's curse, what he did? From the human form, from a woman to a bird. She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same. But all the rest of her clothes were burned black as coal in the flame. Scarlet, brilliant red color, okay? So, when the woman, she was turned into the bird, at that time she was wearing a red colored cap on her head. And the cap was there on the bird's head also. But the woman's remaining clothes, they were burned, they were turned black and, color, just like coal. And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood, where she lives in the trees till this very day, boring and boring for food. So, people who live in the countryside, even the small children who go to school, they saw such kind of bird in the woods. They see, because, this was a ballad, right? Ballad, and it has been going through generations and generations. The adults have been telling to the youngsters. So, even the youngsters, when they pass through, they see that woodpecker is just digging the wood with a beak, collecting the food, whenever any child sees that kind of work. So his elders tell him that story, which they should believe in, right? It's a lesson to learn, right? They say that the bird, she used to be a woman earlier. She was very greedy, and so she was cursed by St. Peter and she was turned into a bird. And they got a teaching that it should not be greedy, right? That's the lesson of the poem. You should never be greedy. Okay, see the literary devices, alliteration, rhyme scheme. Okay, repetition. Now this is something new. Enjambment, which means running lines of poetry from next to next without a punctuation to indicate a style. That's enjambment. Similarly, I told you. That's it. Now, at the last, what do? It's our daily work. Whenever I'm teaching a poem, it's my daily work. Poem or a prose or a poem. That's my daily work. I tell you the theme, right? Just wait. Here we have the theme of the chapter. So this, the legend teaches. This legend, what does it teach us? We should never be greedy. We should be showing empathy, showing feeling. Okay? And that we should possess the qualities of kindness and empathy. The theme that revolves around, and those who do not have kindness, no, they don't have the right to live. Those who do not have a compassion for others, they don't deserve to be loved. They don't deserve to even have the basic amenities like food, shelter, fire to get warm. So they do not have, simply they do not deserve to be loved. This is the theme. So always believe in sharing is caring. Always show love and empathy, kindness towards others. That's it. Alright. So this is for today. Next we'll move on to our proses, because we are completed with our poems part for the first term examination. Right. I wanted to complete the prose part for the first term examination. I know that I think wind is left, no? So wind and the road not taken. Yeah. So wind and road not taken. I'll have a combined session for that any day. Maybe before 17th I'll upload that video, don't worry. Before 17th you'll have a video for wind and the road not taken. And now we'll be starting to cover our literature chapters. A lot of literature chapters are there in Beehive and Moments. We'll be covering that, okay? Alright, that's it for today. Thank you everyone. Comment your doubts to me.